Queen Kahumanu was nearly 70. She retired to her country house, confident in the ability of Kamehameha III to carry out her wishes. On June 5, 1832, Queen Kahumanu, the woman who had started a revolution by abandoning the ways of her ancestors and embracing a new religion, died. She is said to have passed while whispering the words, "Here I am, O Jesus, grant me thy gracious smile." For all intents and purposes, Hawaii was now a Christian nation, and its future would be shaped by those who brought the religion to the islands.
The missionaries may have come here to do good. They stayed here to do well. There were millions to be made in sugar, pineapple, and other products. Hawaii's version of a gold rush, when conquest of Hawaii continues.
In the decade following Queen Ka'ahumanu's death in 1832, David Malo's prophecy that Hawaiians would be eaten up by foreigners was coming true. Trade expanded rapidly, and Honolulu began to look less like a native village and more like an American or British town. The weapons that had won the islands for King Kamehameha I were now rusted and obsolete, having been traded for the power of the Bible and laws based on the Ten Commandments. As foreigners settled, they began to make more political demands on the monarchy. In 1839, France used gunboat diplomacy to urge King Kamehameha III to accept French wine and brandy with minimal duty, and to re-establish the Catholic Church, which had been thrown out of the islands in 1837.
Kamehameha III is forced to sign this treaty because the Hawaiian kingdom has no military power. Kamehameha III has to consider a different solution, and at this point, there are people who are there to advise him that what is needed is a more civilized system of lawmaking and rule.
Those advisors included William Richards, first missionary to join Kamehameha's government. In 1840, Richards encouraged the king to create Hawaii's first written constitution.
The advice that he got from missionaries was, if you honor foreign institutions, law, if you have a civilized country, if you have constitutional governments, they're going to honor you for that. They're not going to come and take away your kingdom.
That advice was tested in 1843 when George Paulet of England seized the Hawaiian Islands and raised the English flag. Within months, the Commander-in-Chief of the British Naval Forces in the Pacific intervened and restored the sovereignty of Kamehameha III. Shortly thereafter, both Britain and France jointly agreed to consider Hawaii an independent nation. The American government watched the British incident very closely because in 1843, the United States declared that it would never permit another world power to violate Hawaiian sovereignty. But the United States may have had a change of heart when in 1845, Hawaii's best natural harbor caught the eye of a contingent of U.S. Marines that anchored off Honolulu. The Hawaiians called the area Pearl Harbor because it had once been known for its abundance of oysters. The Marines instantly saw Pearl Harbor as the perfect location to build forts.
The American expedition was ostensibly a scientific expedition, although it brought back a lot of information about Pearl Harbor and some other strategic military information that would be useful.
With Britain and France gone and the United States supposedly steering clear of any claims on Hawaii, the islands were prosperous and at peace. King Kamehameha III's constitution seemed to be working. The king filled all of his cabinet positions with foreign-born ministers, mostly Americans. Several cabinet members were also missionaries.
There was a concerted effort to maintain the integrity of the culture with Kamehameha III, but the Christian hold was too powerful.
Not everyone was pleased with the growing influence of missionaries and foreigners. The king received petitions of protest, signed by thousands of native Hawaiians.
The petitions asked the king not to make chiefs out of foreigners. The petitions also said, please do not sell any land to foreigners.
But on the advice of his foreign-born ministers, Kamehameha III did both. In 1845, foreigners were allowed to become naturalized citizens.
The kingdom begins accepting oaths of allegiance from these foreigners under the hopes that, if you treat them like chiefs, then they will behave like chiefs, which of course is a terribly vain hope.
And when they became subjects, the Howleys, the non-Hawaiians, wanted the same rights they had had in their countries of origin. especially legal title to land.
Ownership. The very word itself is foreign. Really, there is no word for owning land in Hawaii. So how do you go about selling land when it belongs to virtually everyone?
The government's answer was the Great Mahele of 1848, a proposal that divided Hawaiian land. Most went to the king, the chiefs, and the government. Only a small fraction went to the common people.
There was also that aspect of the Mahele which believed that if you gave title to the lands, then the people would build up this yeoman farmer class. The irony, of course, was that the common people got 1% of that land.
The Mahele, what a tragedy. In applying Western land law to a very non-Western society, it absolutely changes everything very quickly.
The Mahele also allowed foreigners to purchase Hawaiian land. In some cases, the land was being bought at rock-bottom prices by missionaries and their descendants.
The great significance of this period is that the vast majority of Hawaiian people become landless after 1850.
This was devastating, since Hawaiians believe in a deep-rooted spiritual connection to the land, called aloha aina, literally, love of the land.
The tragedy is that Kamehameha III, who so wants to do good, he has no motive except to save his people. He does this, and he immediately realizes that he has made a terrible mistake, and it breaks his heart. And he lives, another 6 years and dies a broken man.
For the missionary families, however, it was the beginning of a new era of prosperity. Ironically, the opportunity was created when the American Board of Foreign Missions cut off all funding by 1855. Soon after, they declared the Hawaiian mission successful and ordered the missionaries home.
The missionaries had a choice. Did they want to go home, or did they want to stay in Hawaii and somehow support themselves?
The missionary families who stayed behind went into business. They started sugar and pineapple plantations and made fortunes in land development. Their names, Castle, Cook, Dole, and Sparkles, still grace the products and properties of modern Hawaii.
Their wealth had been built up because of the tremendous market in America that had taken place during the Civil War. Because much of America's sugar was produced in the South, and of course the North was blockading in the South from trade. The United States bought virtually every ounce of sugar produced in the Hawaiian Kingdom in this period.
With wealth came a desire for more political control. The new land barons pressed for an increasing role in the government. A succession of short-lived kings led many American business owners to conclude that the monarchy was unstable.
At the death of every king, the annexationist element here brings up the idea that, well, maybe now is the time that we join a stronger and safer nation. You have this beautiful place with the population that's growing smaller and smaller and smaller, and what a waste. And the American community is growing larger, it's healthier. You begin to see an American community thinking, well, maybe this is fate.
Not wanting to leave it to chance, powerful American business interests in Hawaii were looking for more power and more control. Before the end of the 19th century, they would take what they wanted.
When conquest of Hawaii continues, the American government takes a part of Hawaii that was then obscure, but would later live in infamy, Pearl Harbor. We'll be right back.
In 1874, King Lunalilo, the last Hawaiian king to claim a blood relationship with the Kamehameha family, died without leaving an heir. Two members of the royal family claimed title. One was Queen Emma, the widow of Kamehameha IV. The other was Prince David Kalakaua, a high-ranking chief and honorary colonel in the Hawaiian army.
Queen Emma followed the English rule. Kalakaua aligned himself with the Americans. They were deadly enemies, Emma and Kalakaua. Deadly enemies.
The Hawaiian legislature elected Prince Kalakaua king. The supporters of Queen Emma rioted and ransacked the legislature building, killing one of Kalakaua's supporters by throwing him out of a second-story window.
The powers that be brought in their forces to control the crowd. The Emmaites got trounced, and even though Kalakaua won the election and Queen Emma was set aside, those who followed her and supported her did until she died.
At the start of his reign, King Kalakaua appeared to be a good choice for America.
When Kalakaua first is elected king, his interest is to support, I think, the economic transformation of the islands. He promises to negotiate a reciprocity treaty with the United States so that Hawaii's sugar can enter American markets without tariff.
The Treaty of Reciprocity of 1876 gave Kalakaua exactly what he wanted.